Hello, my name is...
Mason Stajduhar.
But my friends call me...
Mason.
I am...
26 years old.
But I look like...
23, 22. Maybe a little more with my beard now.
I was born in...
1997.
And I live in...
Orlando, Florida.
At school, I always excelled in...
Math.
And I hated...
Everything else.
Okay, fair. My childhood dream was to be a...
Professional goalkeeper.
But I also saw myself doing...
Nothing else really, just professional goalkeeper.
My first job was as a...
Professional goalkeeper.
I started playing soccer when I was...
4 years old.
And I play at the team...
Orlando City.
My favorite position on the field is...
Goalkeeper.
But I have also played as...
Center back.
Ooh.
When I was younger. Not anywhere close to professional level.
Okay. When I have time, I always escape to...
The woods with my wife.
And when guests come to my house, I always prepare...
I have my wife prepare a nice dinner. I can't cook for shit.
In the future, I see myself as a...
Business owner.
Although I do not rule out dedicating myself to...
If it's not business or soccer, I don't know what it would be. A dad. Dad in the future.
Fair.
Dedicated dad.
Cool. That's Mason. Let's go. All right. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Yep.
Where did you start playing?
So I grew up in Connecticut, up north. I played for local club teams up there. You know, we did the pre-academy days. It was way before MLS Next Pro or
Right.
MLS Next or any of that kind of stuff.
How old were you?
So I want to say 10 when I got invited to play for like the local club team.
Right.
There's not a lot in Connecticut compared to a place like Central Florida, Orlando. But
Right.
so, you know, playing with them, we're traveling all over New England, you know, Massachusetts. We're going to New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, playing the other big club teams like the Red Bull Academy at the time, the Revs Academy, Montreal Impact Academy, you know, teams like that. But we would get, I think, like 24 guys to try out for our club team at a time, and 18 made the team.
Right.
So we were playing Red Bulls where they had hundreds of kids try out. So it was as a goalkeeper, it was good because I'd get a lot of action, a lot of repetition, and I had a great goalkeeper coaches at that club. It's called Oakwood Soccer Club up in Connecticut. Andy Panison and especially Kevin Bacher. He was a big role model for me and
Right.
coach that really helped me develop there. And then we found out in 2013 that my dad's job was moving down here to Florida.
Okay.
So then we moved down here. My dad's job, I joined the Clearwater Chargers on the Gulf Coast over in Clearwater, obviously. I played for them for a year, kept developing over there. Actually, Tim Mulqueen, I don't know if you remember him. He was the goalkeeper, one of the goalkeeper coaches there at the time, so he helped me a lot there. And once we found out Orlando was going to become MLS team, I decided to try my luck with the academy over here. And so I had a week trial with their PDL team at the time, which is U23s. I would think I was 16, maybe 15. 16 or 17 at that time. Obviously made it to the academy about after 18 months, I'd say, with the academy. I got offered a contract for the first team, and that was my journey to get to professional.
Wow. How did you approach those days where you knew that you had one chance, or at least like it seemed like you had one chance, and you took that?
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of nerves and excitement, but every time that I've ever, you've had, whether it's a big game, professional, or like that one chance when it's a trial or anything like that, the anticipation and the build-up is so much worse than the actual moment.
Right.
And it seems like once you make your first play, your first pass, or you catch your first shot or whatever it might be, it's like you're just playing soccer again. It's like no different than you were just playing with your buddies at the park or the team you had just played for, a bunch of times or trained with forever. So yeah, it's I think not trying to build the moment up too much in your head and just kind of staying calm. And once you do it enough, you realize that I just need to make my first play, and then it's going to be just like normal. And then you settle into that game feeling where it's, you're excited, you're focused, locked in. It's like nothing else matters. The world disappears. Right.
Yeah. For me, the thing that it would work very well was like my first pass. It kind of dictates like the day or the game, right? Yeah. So I was always sure that I would make the first pass.
First pass, yeah.
And then from there it's like, okay, now I build the confidence. Yeah. Like the first 2-3 passes, like very key. Even if it's like backwards. I don't care. It was just
complete the first pass.
Yeah, and then from there it's like otherwise it's like I was starting like I missed the first pass and then the second, and all of a sudden you want to try to catch up and you kind of lose yourself there a little.
That's why I'm jealous of like midfielders, because you obviously make the game happen, especially in the center of the park. You know, you're touching the ball. You have a lot of actions during the game. There's sometimes when a game will start and I won't touch the ball to like the 10th, 15th minute, and I'm like, still have those nerves and a little bit of anxiety, excitement, and everything. I'm just waiting to make my play.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, because it's so different compared to most positions on the field, all positions on the field. Goalkeeper, you're very reactive.
Right.
You have to let the game come to you, is where you obviously are reading the game and playing what you see, but you're making stuff happen, rather than stopping stuff or preventing stuff, from reactivity.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. One of the things that I did was when we started to have the ball at the halftime or at the beginning of the game, I was like, pass it to me. Like the striker would pass it to me.
Yeah, off the kickoff, yeah.
Yeah, and then I would pass it back.
Yeah.
So I already had that first one very safe.
Yeah, that's smart. You just got to play yourself into the game.
Yeah. Why you wanted to be a goalkeeper?
It's a good question. I think so. I played a lot of sports growing up. I played soccer, obviously, baseball and basketball, and even in the backyard with my brother and my dad, we play American football as well. And every sport that I played, I always liked being on the defensive side of the ball. So in basketball, my favorite plays were like blocking shots or, stealing the ball or getting rebounds. Baseball, I was a pitcher and a catcher. I couldn't hit very well,
right.
But I was a good pitcher and a good catcher, which was obviously on the defensive side of the ball. And then even more in the backyard, I'd always be the cornerback instead of the wide receiver.
So it was kind of natural?
Yeah, I always liked preventing people from doing stuff. That always satisfied me more than, scoring a point or a goal or a touchdown or whatever. So obviously goalkeeper is the ultimate defensive position, so it fit well.
Absolutely. What would you say to the kids that they are thinking about being a goalkeeper, but maybe it's not as fancy as to have the number 10 on your back?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's one thing that's a little bit different about U.S. soccer culture, American soccer culture, is that the goalkeeper is more, I don't know the word, heralded. I don't know, more, it seems a lot more of a nicer job than it would be like if you grew up in Spain or you grew up in Germany or Sweden. I think that's just our history of American soccer. I think goalkeeper has been one of our best, if not best position as far as exports and what people see on the world stage. Casey Keller, Brad Friedel, Tim Howard, Matt Turner now, Zach Steffen, Ethan Horvath. I'm missing a lot of guys there, but
Right.
So I think there's a good history of goalkeeping, and Tony Miola is another history of goalkeeping in the U.S. I think that kind of makes it seem more like a position people will want. But I would say to kids is just make sure you love the position, because it's a really tough position with unthanked goes a lot unthanks a lot a lot of the time, and so just make sure you love it and that that buzz you get when you make a save or a good play as a goalkeeper feels the same, if not more, as when you score a goal. Because that's what it was for me as a kid.
Right.
When I made a big save, it's like when you would score a goal. I get that same feeling inside.
I scored a few goals. No, but you're right, and we had the chance to play together, and I saw that on you. Like when you made a good save, even if it was in training, you would have yourself up, and that's very contagious, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Is there any now that we're going to the technical side? What would you tell the kids if they want to be good goalkeepers to work on?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things where I look back, if I had realized this when I was younger, I think I could have, improved these skills a lot earlier. One would be what I call is wide push. So you have your feet set in the ground when you go to make a save, right? You set into the ground. And after I did a very long film study watching a bunch of different goalkeepers from across the world, Neuer, Ter Stegen, Casillas, De Gea, myself, not to put myself in that category, but I watched tons, Ederson. And a trend I noticed is that when goalkeepers get a really good push off and really get a lot of range on a dive, their feet, when they land off of their set, the lead foot, so if I'm diving to my right, this lead foot doesn't come back inside. This lead foot stays, relatively close to where it landed into the ground when they push off. So they don't lose the distance of the step, and they also don't lose the time where the foot comes inside. So you gain, probably another ball length, maybe a little bit more of distance, and that much of time. It's only a fraction of a second, but that's the difference between pulling out that bottom corner save or that top corner save, whatever it might be. So I'd say that width of foot of your footwork, so wide push, and then I would say just get comfortable as possible on the ball. Being in the possession with the team. Anytime you can use your feet with the team, just getting used to reading situations, whatever it might be, playing in tight spaces, making your brain think quickly, because that's something we miss as a goalkeeper, because you don't do it as much as a field player does in a game.
Right.
You only make probably 10 passes a game where there's any type of pressure. So if you're just playing 11v11 all the time, you're not getting those quick thinking reps as you would if you're in the possession or the rondos. And another one, I'd say, with just ball striking. I call it like going to the driving range after practice. I'll be out there, I'm just working on my striking techniques, making sure I'm snapping my knee well. I'm putting the spin I want it. Now I've gotten to the point, I'm injured now, but I've got to the point where, okay, I want to put this with just perfect backspin. Okay, I'm going to fade this one a little bit so it comes off and tails off at the end. You can change the trajectory.
Right.
You can curl it a little bit more. Still backspin, but it's, shifting off to the left a little bit. So that's just, I think Robin's seen it, you've seen it, but literally almost every single day after practice, I spend, at least 30 minutes on the field, whether it's, doing wide push or you taking extra shots, or a lot of time just hitting the driving range, as I call it, just working the ball striking.
Right.
Because, you got 10, 15 kicks in a game, and you got to make them as perfect as possible and hit your spots as best as possible. So.
Right. No, you guys are in a position that you get the ball a few times, and you want to make sure that
it's perfect.
It's perfect, right?
Because I think as the farther you get back on the field, closer to a goalkeeper, the more your plays matter. A lot of them plays are like very simple. I'm just going to pass to Robin, pass to another center back. But the bigger your mistakes matter. So you make a mistake as a goalkeeper, usually ends up in a goal. You make a mistake as a forward and you miss a tap in.
Right.
It's still 0-0.
Right.
Your team's not down.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you could have scored. But
absolutely. Your responsibility, it's way different.
Yeah.
Have you ever had like a coach that is like, okay, this definitely changed my life, and why?
Yeah, I'd say when I was younger, Kevin Bacher, my coach in Connecticut, I think I loved goalkeeping and really enjoyed playing soccer up until that point, but I think he really made me believe and made me realize that I could actually be a professional and really do it. So he kind of set that mentality, desire, belief, all those intangibles. He set them from the time I was 11 or 12 years old to just, carry me through up until this point. So I'd say Kevin Bacher for sure.
Right. Your position, it's hard because it's like either the first play and then the second is on the bench, or the third is not even on the bench. How you deal with that, knowing that you are putting the same work or sometimes even more, like mentally?
Yeah, I think, and it sucks. It really does, because you feel like you've been playing well in training, playing well in games when you've gotten your opportunities, all this stuff. But like you said, only one goalkeeper plays, so it definitely sucks. I think when I go through spells where I don't play or hadn't played or haven't been playing, I really just laser focused in on the day-to-day. I was like, all right, today I'm going to focus. I know we're doing crosses in goalkeeper training. I'm going to focus on reading this cross as quickly as possible and getting it to the highest point, and then doing a good distribution after. And then I know we're playing small-sided today in practice, so I'm really going to make work on my timing of my set and decisions in tight spaces with the ball. And then after practice, I'm going to hit the driving range, as I said. I'm going to really focus on my striking technique. So I think taking care of each day as best as possible, obviously on the field, off the field in the gym, doing, your recovery, eating well, sleeping well. I think that being able to focus on that day-to-day process of getting, 1% better helped distract me from the overall fact that I wasn't in the position I wanted to be.
Right. And it seems like it's the only thing that you can control too.
Correct. Exactly. There's so much out of your control in this profession. So much.
Right.
And if you worry about that or focus on that, you're going to drive yourself crazy. Right. And I think I started my career when I moved up from the academy to the first team, worrying way too much about what was out of my control. And I drove myself crazy. Right. And then I learned as I matured and got older that you literally just have to focus on what you control every single day. Right. And eventually the rest will take care of itself.
Right. And then when the opportunity comes, right,
You're ready.
Then you're ready.
Yep.
It happens to me. I think it happened to pretty much everybody but Messi, right?
Yes.
Which is you gotta be able to make a decision whether I'm not playing, should I throw the towel, or I'll just keep my head down and keep work even harder, right?
Correct.
Once you realize that and you make that switch, some people take a lot of time to do that switch. Sometimes some people, they never do that and they just go down and they are over. And some people like react really quick. The quicker you react, the better position you are. Because then first you show the coach that you really want to be there, that he's wrong in a way. Also, you prepare yourself way better. So when the opportunity comes, you can prove it, right? You can be the best version of yourself. So I've seen that on you too a lot. You definitely, like, you are. I'm very impressed on how resilient you are. Probably one of the most resilient people I've seen.
I appreciate that, buddy. Thank you.
From injuries, from and from here, like you've been in a dark moment in your life. I feel like this is so much empowering to the guys that they are young, but also like people like us as adults that you come from where you came and now it's just healthy again and kind of
go ahead.
No, explain us a little bit of how it went down and how you felt. How soccer helped you with that too.
So for everyone that doesn't know, what Yuri's referring to is if I was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, a form of bone cancer, at the end of the 2017 season, and I proceeded to do chemo and radiation for the next 8 months during most of the 2018 season, and was declared in remission after those 8 months, and now it's been over 5 years since then. I think actually this year was 6 years.
Congrats.
So yeah, I appreciate it, Yuri.
But I mean, like, being a professional or close to be professional, then encountering these. Like.
Yeah, it was crazy. So that 2017 season was a wild ride. So 2016, I didn't make any appearances, didn't make any rosters. Well, I made one roster, but for the second team. So it was a tough year. And I was just learning how to be a professional, learning how to live away from home, all those sorts of things, growing up mentally. Right. So I did a lot of work in the off season to prepare my body, but mostly prepare my mind. A lot of sports psychology work, a lot of, meditating, all that kind of stuff to be like, all right, it's time to, like, I got to mature. I got to grow up. It's time to be a professional.
This is the year.
Yeah, exactly. And then, preseason's going great, playing well in the preseason matches with the second team. I'm going to play a lot of matches with the second team that year, because I'm still young at that point. I just turned 19. Yeah, I just turned 19 going into the season. And so we're 4 or 5 days away from the season opener for the second team. And I go to hit a goal kick in practice, and I tear my quad. So it was a 7-centimeter tear, which I think is around 2.5 inches. Wow. So I still have I don't know if they can see that on the camera. Right. Wow. I still got the divot from it. So I was like, man, I just did all this work in the off season. I had a great preseason. It was going to be a good year. And then
this happened.
So that recovery process was a roller coaster. It kept getting re-injured, just was not going well. Inflammation was staying too long. Anyway, so we get into August. So that happened in March, and then we get into August territory, somewhere around there, and still trying to do my rehab, and we're getting close to the end stage. And part of it was me practicing throwing the ball, and I go to step with my left leg to plant and throw, and I feel this electrical shock go from my knee down. I was like, that hurt.
Right.
But didn't feel anything else. I told the trainer, it's like, yeah, it's probably nothing, just nerve got pinched or something. Next day, pain's a little worse. It happens a couple more times, and eventually gets to the point where walking is painful. And they're like, oh, we think you have shin splints. They're doing massages, doing all the treatment and everything. And after a couple of weeks, they're like, all right, we got to send you to the doctor. Dr. Yeomans, actually, I don't know.
Yeah.
He see him, takes x-rays, does ultrasound. Well, does the ultrasound first, doesn't see anything muscular. Takes the x-rays, He's like, all right, so you have some sort of, lesion in there, but I'm going to send you to an oncologist now to make sure it's nothing bad. It doesn't look like anything bad from my knowledge, but he's not the expert in that. So he sent me to the expert, the oncologist. Oncologist has me get MRI and all those tests and everything. He's like, all right, you definitely have something in there, but we're going to watch it for 4 weeks, and then you're going to come back, and, we're going to do all these tests again, and then go from there. So come back 4 weeks. It had grown, unfortunately.
Well, how were those 4 weeks just waiting?
Honestly, I didn't think too much about it because people were, pretty confident it wasn't anything serious at that point.
Right.
I just want to get rid of this pain.
Right.
Because, at that point, walking was, very painful. And every time I would dive to my left and I would land on that side, I felt like I got shot. I was like, ah!
Right.
So, go back 4 weeks later, and they're like, yeah, you got to get a biopsy. So get a biopsy, and I still remember this moment. I'm waking up after the biopsy, after the surgery, and I'm like, hey, doc, how you doing? He's like, well, I got some unfortunate news. It's more than likely you have some form of bone cancer. I'm like, thanks, doc, that's awesome.
No, wow.
Because I was messed up from the anesthesia and stuff, so it didn't, obviously fully hit me. But yeah, so obviously that's how I found out. He's like, yeah, but we got to run tests first to make sure, but more than likely. And then moving out of my apartment like a week or two later, and I get the call. It's like, yeah, it's bone cancer. And I was like, gutted, obviously. One, for the health reason, but more so they told me I wasn't going to be able to play soccer for the next 8 months or so. And that was like, what am I going to do? It was like the one thing I really enjoyed doing.
Right.
And in love, it was like taken from me.
Right.
So, I started treatment a couple weeks later, doing chemotherapy. I'd be in the hospital for a couple days, between 3 to 7 days, depending on what medicines I was getting. And then I'd be out for a week, go back in, be out for a week, go back in, be out for a week. And I did that for the next basically 8 months or so. And thankfully, I was able to kind of skirt the rules a little bit and train pretty much fully through the whole thing. I wasn't doing like, full team drills or small sided or, live stuff, but, any shooting drills we were doing, I was jumping in. I don't know if you remember or not, or doing goalkeeper training and stuff and practicing my kicking. I worked on my kicking a lot that year. And that's when it got a lot better. I was lifting with Calder at the time, doing a lot of physical work as much as I could. So yeah,
that helped you mentally.
Oh yeah,
like to
100%. If I wasn't able to do that stuff, I would have been in a very, very dark place mentally.
Right.
And I feel that I was able to do so well mentally through the whole thing because I still had soccer.
Right.
I still felt like I was getting better and chasing something rather than, just sitting on the hospital bed and then going home and sitting on the couch. I think I would have been, like I said, in a very dark place. So yeah, there was a couple weeks there when I was doing radiation. I think it was about 6 or 7 weeks where I was driving back and forth. So I'd do radiation at 7 a.m., drive 2 hours to practice facility, train, eat, lift, and then go back for my radiation in the afternoon, another 2 hours back. So I did that for 6 or 7 weeks. So that was pretty.
Wow.
That was a very tiring time. I was definitely very, very tired at night. I'd fall asleep like that.
Right.
But yeah, obviously I lost my hair. My blood was, had a lower oxygen count because, lack of hemoglobin and all that stuff. So, I got out of breath quickly. So I couldn't do the full set of reps that we would do on the field or everything. But I did, if Adam or the other guys would do 6, I was doing 3.
Right.
Still, getting some sort of better, which, like I said, it helped me a lot.
I mean, it's so empowering that at this moment you grab soccer as a way out of take your thoughts out.
Yeah.
And also getting better. I mean, if you had this in mind, regardless how you were feeling and everything, it's like, no, I'm gonna get better during those moments. And kind of explain us what happened after those 8 months.
Yeah. So after those 8 months, I finished my treatment, declared a remission, and then I had about a month or so before I was cleared to play, cleared to play fully because my blood counts had to come back and all that kind of stuff. And then cleared to play, and they're like, okay, we're going to take you off season-ending injury list. You're good to play. The deadline hasn't happened yet. And then we got a new coach around that time, and a couple games later, the coach was like, all right, you're going to be in the roster the rest of the year. I was like, this is amazing. I was going to make my first, MLS roster, and he said, we might play you for a game or two. We don't know yet, but, just be ready. I'm like, this is amazing. Like, this is why I kept working the whole year and done everything my entire career in life is like to work towards a moment of, playing a professional match. And, so we're getting ready to travel. We have the day before the game practice. And the coach pulls me to the side before we get off the field, and he's like, hey, there might be an issue with your paperwork. I don't know if you're going to be able to go or not, but just prepare to go to the airport, and then we'll try and figure out when we get there. So it turns out our GM at the time had forgot to take me off the season-ending injury list. Wow. So I was ineligible to play the rest of the year. So I obviously couldn't be on a roster or anything. So that was gutting. Right. Because I had been told like, oh yeah, you're doing great. Like, here you go. Here's your chance. It might be coming. Right. And then it was just ripped down because of a clerical error. Wow. Something completely out of your control and so simple.
So the motion of like, okay, getting out of cancer, being able to make a roster, potentially playing. Yeah. Emotions like through the roof, right? Way up. And all of a sudden they tell you that.
Straight back down.
What was your feeling after that?
I was very angry. And the next, week or two, it was hard to focus on the field. I'm not going to lie. I just felt so much anger. Right. Because I felt I had put in so much work, and for someone to make a simple mistake like that to change it I was very frustrated. And it took a while for me to forgive that. Right. So yeah, it was like you said, up here and then straight back down.
Right. But then you kept going. After a couple of weeks. You just kept grinding.
Like, all right. Well, if they think I'm doing well now, I'm just gonna get ready for the 2019 season, and prepare for that. Now I'll use this last couple months of training of the season as getting ready for that. So yeah, used that as 2019 to get ready for 2019 season. Had a good off-season training. Came in, had a good preseason. Club decided to loan me out to the USL for the year, which was, very good because I got to play professional games for the first time. Made my professional debut. Played like 20 games in the USL. Right. Did well. Learned a lot, which I think was the most important thing because I was able to see myself on film for the first time. So I got to see that wide push. I was like, hey, why does my foot keep coming inside? Right. Or I notice I tend to hit the ball a little bit this way too much or whatever like that. And then you get to have live decision-making too, which is such an important aspect as a goalkeeper. Do I come for this through ball? Right. Do I go for that cross? Do I stay? So that year was great, making my professional debut and getting to play all these games. I learned so much. I was like, okay, after that season, I was like, all right, this offseason I need to work on X, Y, and Z. Right. Wide push, ball striking, and there's something else I'm forgetting right now. But yeah, these are the three things I need to work on. Right. I know exactly if I can get these three things down, I'm going to be in a complete another level. Right. And then so we're going into the 2020 season. Oscar and the staff, new coaches. I was like, all right, great opportunity to prove myself. Brand new clean slate. And I come in and I'm doing very well in preseason. I'm playing a lot with our second team that started up again, playing well with them, even captaining games for OCB. Right. And then before OCB season started, I think it was 2 games into the MLS season, COVID hit. And it's like, you remember, the world shut down. Right. So during that time was crazy. I went back and lived with my parents because I was just had my apartment alone in Orlando. And my parents, were about an hour and a half away at the time. So during that time when we were at home, I was just going out to our local park and just practicing wide push for like an hour or two every day, just diving to a still ball, just over and over and over and over. I got so many reps into that and just ball striking, just kicking, working my kicking consistency and technique for hour or two a day. I'd do, my diving in the morning. I'd lift. I took some barbells and plates from the facility and brought them to my parents' garage. Right. I would morning would be diving, midday lift, and then evening would be kicking.
Right.
And the whole time we were at home, I wasn't doing the plans that the coach sent, the fitness coach sent. I remember you guys were doing a lot of running.
We did.
I was just working on my technical, but like obviously I was doing physical works too, but the technical of those two things just for, 5 days a week for an hour or two a day.
Right. So after COVID, you were in a very good position.
Yeah, very good place. So we came back, we started doing the individual trainings, the small group trainings, and I was performing very well during that. And we went to the bubble, and the bubble was the same thing. It was miserable in some aspects, the bubble, but it was also good for me too because I was training twice a day. Like the guys that weren't playing in the games, we were training twice a day. So I had, I think 50 days we were there or so. Like
almost 2 months, yeah.
Yeah, almost 2 months of 2-a-days every day, and it was the same thing. Like because I wasn't, most of it was tactic work with the normal trainings, but I was off to the side when that was happening, just doing skill work.
Right.
Skill work, the diving, the kicking, the diving, the kicking every single day. Kick saves too. Kick saves was the other thing I was trying to work on at the time.
Right.
So I was doing those 3 things for what was that? From March to when we left the bubble, and beginning of August, maybe end of July, somewhere around there. So 4 or 5 months of just working on those every single day. So I was in a really good spot. I was performing very well, playing really well. Coaches were very happy with me, very impressed. They didn't, because it was their first season, they didn't think I was going to be as good as I was. And so that set me up for success. I made a couple rosters that year too, more due to Pedro leaving on international duty, but they were very happy with me. Picked up my option for the 21 season. And yeah, they were like, yeah, you get a good chance of being the number 2 next year. We're going to make you the number 2 for 21 season. And then I have a good off season again. 21 season comes, and I don't know, probably 10 days before preseason starts, it says Orlando City signs Tottenham goalkeeper on loan, Brandon Austin. And I'm like, I don't have a good feeling about this. Anyway, but you as a professional, it's out of your control, so you got to just go in and perform. I have a great preseason in 2021, playing excellent, training excellent. I'm like, all right, I got this locked up for sure. I'm going to be the guy on the bench. I'm being number 2. When Pedro goes on international duty, I'll make my MLS debut. And
right.
It turns out I didn't get the job as the number 2 to start the season. And I was extremely frustrated because I knew and I felt like my teammates knew that I had earned and performed more than well enough to have that spot. So I go into the coach's office and ask, what do I need to do different? Like, what's up? And there's like, don't worry about it. Just keep going. Like, there's things that are out of your control. So we get to the halfway point of the season. I'm frustrated. I wanna go on loan myself. I'm not happy. I'm working hard every day, and I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, I did as well as I could, and I still didn't move up the chain to get even an opportunity. So frustrated. And then at that point, I'm like, all right, that's the point where I'm done. I want to go on loan. Let's go. Let's just go play somewhere else. Pedro gets injured, and Tottenham decides not to extend the loan for this guy for the second half of the season. And they're like, all right, Mason, you're playing.
Wow.
So, and I'm at that time, I'm so frustrated.
From being so frustrated to a point where
I'm
it's
done
just...
with this. I don't want to play soccer
it's
anymore.
like,
I want to leave, all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, snap your fingers, it changed.
Right.
And then I end up making... I remember the moment when Pedro got hurt, and you never want to see anyone get hurt. Team injuries suck. That you never want to see it. But I remember thinking in my head, doing the math, wait, I might play the next game then.
Right.
And it's like, holy crap.
What was that feeling?
Do you remember that? Were you here in 21? I couldn't remember.
I was.
No, you went to
21. I was here. 21.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you remember that game we lost 5-0 at New York City?
Yes.
So that was in the 89th minute. Pedro took a goal kick and hurt his quad. And so, but we used all 5 subs.
Right.
And we were running low on subs that because of injuries and stuff like that, so that we had 2 goalkeepers on the bench. It was Brandon and myself. And I kind of heard rumors that Brandon might go back to Tottenham, and then Pedro gets injured, and I'm like it just hit me. I was like, there's a very, very, very strong possibility that I'm going to play the next game, which was in 3 days.
Right.
versus Atlanta. And obviously I ended up playing and made my debut after someone did the math. From the day I signed my contract to the day I made my debut was over 2,000 days. It was like 2,040 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and then half of 21. So it was like 5.5 years.
Wow. So let's talk about this moment. After this, I gotta ask, what was the feeling that you had when you step on the field, knowing that you were about to start a game, first debut?
I was so nervous. I was so nervous. Oh my gosh, my heart was beating out of my chest. You know, like that feeling when you have a cup of coffee on an empty stomach, like a cold brew on an empty stomach or espresso, and you're just like boom, 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 boom.
Right.
It was that like times 10.
Right.
The whole day, like from the time I woke up to the time I made my first play in the game, my heart was beating out of my chest.
Right. I mean, that was the time that you dream of, that got you through the cancer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That there were so many injustices or whatever you want to call it, but moments of frustration for the reasons, and now you are right there. It's like, okay, there's nothing that will stop this from happen.
Yeah.
And you were nervous as fuck.
I was so nervous. I couldn't believe how nervous I was. But it was like, I was thinking like, all right, I've been nervous before. Just need to make my first play. Like we talked about earlier. Just make your first play. It'll all go away. So the game kicks off, and like 40 seconds into the game, I think it was Brooks Lennon, because we played Atlanta. Brooks Lennon plays a cross from deep, but across the 18, the top of the 18.
He's very known for that type of crosses.
Mm-hmm. And Joseph Martinez is running onto it first time from like the top of the D, and he smacks it so hard, it hits off the post. I dive for it, hits off the post, and it goes in 40 seconds into my debut. I was like, what the heck? I couldn't believe it, but at the same time, it's like, all right, it is what it is. It was like, I think it almost like settled me in the moment. I was like, all right, like that was out of my control. It's like, all right, we got 89 more minutes of soccer to play. Right. It's going to be fine. And I think about 10 minutes later, I made a breakaway save, 1v1 save. Actually, Robin was the one sliding, trying to block it.
I remember.
Yeah. So I hit off my hamstring and bounced over the goal. So big save there. And then I was like, all right, we're in it. I just made my first big save. That felt amazing. Right. But at the same time, it felt amazing. You had a corner to deal with after. So you're like, you had a split second of happiness, and then it's like back to organizing everybody. Right. But yeah, everything else, decision making. I made a couple other good plays in the game, and they scored another there. So we won the game 3-2. We came back, but their second goal they scored was a rocket top corner from like 22, 23 yards away. So it was like nothing you could do about it. But yeah, it was great to get that first win and that first debut.
How was the satisfaction of first winning, second making the debut, but third proving yourself that you were where you're supposed to be?
Yep.
And that you belong.
Yeah. After the game, I got a little emotional. I think it was just 2,000 days of emotion and work built up into one, and it was just like,
plus being healthy, cancer survivor.
Yeah, exactly, all that.
All
the
of that.
Cancer, the injuries, all the work, everything. And it was after that final whistle blew, and the relief of like, I finally did it. I finally made my debut. I finally was able to show everybody that I belong at this level, that I can do it. And I just, I started to cry a little bit, and it was just like an emotional catharsis. Like the weight of the world had been lifted off my shoulders, and I felt so free and so confident. And then, the next 5 or 6 games I played, I got better and better and better. And the last one I ended up playing, I actually won man of the match.
Right.
So I was like, I felt like I had truly proved that I was able to do this. And then I ended up tearing my meniscus in practice after that 6th game I played in a row. And then it was like, this question is like, oh, is he going to keep starting, or, what's it going to be? And then I tear my meniscus. So obviously I missed out on the chance to play more games. So I had to rehab from that. I rehabbed in 3 weeks. Obviously meniscus isn't, that bad of an injury, but I wasn't going to go back to playing after being out. So that, but I think I was more at peace with that one because I had just come from playing games. I was like, all right, I showed what I can do, what I knew I could do for such a long time.
Right.
People saw it.
You prove yourself.
Exactly.
And at that point, it's like, okay, these things happen. It could happen to anyone, right?
Exactly.
But at least you are in peace with yourself. Saying, okay,
exactly. So, that
I deserve.
Yeah, exactly. So that set me up for a good spot for 2022. And I just keep it rolling in 2022. I'm playing well again. Actually met my wife in 2022. Got engaged in 2022. I'm playing well. Started the season off well. Good preseason, all this stuff. Playing an Open Cup. Everything's wrong. I'm getting better. Still working hard. Playing a lot. And then I break my jaw 1 week before an international break where I'm scheduled to play 2 or 3 games.
Right.
I break my jaw in practice. So I'm wired shut for 8 weeks. Can't play. So I missed out on an opportunity to play games there. That was frustrating again. No, one more game that year after I'd come back from my jaw injury, and that was not a good game. That we lost 5-1. That was I feel like all the games I played, that was my worst one for sure. That feeling was horrible. But, yeah, it's like nothing that you can do. It's like, all right, now on to the next one.
Right.
But, yeah, so 2022 overall, though, was a good year.
Right.
2023, got married at the beginning of the season.
Congrats.
Thank you. And playing well in preseason again. Playing well in games. Did well in games that year. Great year. No injuries. It was great. Healthy the whole year. Made every opportunity count. Did all I could. Still the number 2. Like, obviously, you don't want to be number 2 forever. So I'm like a pusher. I'm like, all right, I want an opportunity to start. Like, I really want to play. And they're like, all right, just keep going, type thing, which is, like you said, that's just how the position works, unfortunately. So only one guy can play. It's not like if you're playing well, you can play 30 minutes, 60 and 30.
Correct.
It's either all or nothing.
Right.
No one's going to waste a sub on a goalkeeper.
Correct.
And so, 2024, I know there's going to be Copa America. There was Copa America this year, so I knew I was going to play in the summer at least, 4 or 5 games. And plus the other international breaks, and I was able to get a CONCACAF Champions League game this year as well, so that was great.
That's cool.
So this season was the best season I had so far. And, played well in the first international break game, played well at CONCACAF, and then Copa America's coming up. Unfortunately, we lose the first game 3-1, I think. Yeah, 3-1 to LAFC, who was obviously a very good team, but we weren't playing well at that time. Wasn't like I had a bad game, but I didn't have a good game either. Sometimes that happens as a goalkeeper. It's just like you're at the mercy of the game sometimes. But we come back, have a strong game for Charlotte, tied 2-2, and then next game play Chicago, and I have a great game. We win 4-2. I set a club record for saves, 11 saves and everything. Great game. Riding high. I was like, all right, this is a chance. Like, I just got to keep it going. One more good performance. I got a chance to, potentially start here, like be the starter. We're playing New York City at New York City, and I made a couple of saves, like two breakaway saves or 3 1v1 saves in the first couple minutes of the game, and then they scored 1 goal, good shot, bottom corner, and then there's a through ball. It comes about the 15th minute or so. And I go to make like a slide tackle, like sweeper keeper play. And as I kick the ball, the guy's foot plants in the ground and my shin hits it and snaps. And turned out to be a compound fracture of my tibia and fibula. And at first I didn't realize it. And then one of my teammates tried to help pick me up, and I looked down and see my foot at an angle like that, just like hanging, my legs like drooping. And I freak out. My bone was out of my skin. I didn't know at the time, they put me in the air cast, rushed to the hospital, into the ER room, all drugged up and everything, and they got to reset my fracture, line it up, and then next morning I get surgery. They put a rod in there and a plate, and so I got a bunch of hardware now. I'm in the process of doing rehab, and it's just crazy because I was playing the best I had in my career. Right. I had gotten a run of games. I was I was having a good chance to potentially start after that. If not, start and have more opportunities in the future. And then it all gets taken from you in one moment.
This story, you already come from a big one to another one to another one to another one, but in between there's always highs, right?
Yes, yep.
And it seems like now you're just obviously recovering and maybe on the low side. Yep. But you're proving yourself, and it's
I'll
like
be back.
You can watch again what we just spoke, because definitely there's highs after the lows. Yeah. And what would you say to the people that have been listening to this? Yep. About your journey, about like the resilience you definitely have, like the highest resilience
I
that I've
appreciate
seen.
that, buddy. Thank you.
What would you tell them, like in life, in soccer,
Yeah.
anything?
If you want something badly enough and it truly is your dream, I feel like there's nothing that you should let stop you. Whether it's, you want to be a professional soccer player, soccer is your dream, whether it's a, injury, a coach telling you you're not good enough, or you get a no from a trial, or you're not starting, or you're not even making the roster, whatever it is. If you just focus on keep getting better and saying in your head, no, this is how it's going to be, I'm going to make this happen no matter what, then I feel like that will take you far in soccer, in whatever you choose to pursue, or in life in general. That attitude that, F this, I'm going to make this happen regardless. So I'm not going to let my circumstances and what uncontrollably happened to me define me. I have a chance to control as much as possible, and I'm going to do everything I can to chase my dream.
That's awesome. A little bit of more fun stuff now.
Yep.
What we did with Robin as well. What music do you listen before the match?
Metallica. Yeah. I know you're a big drums guy too.
Yeah.
Upchurch, and who's like half country, half rapper, and some like EDM too, some dance music.
Fair.
Yeah.
Superstition or rituals before a match?
None. I try to keep it as simple as possible. That's why you can take all like uncontrollables out of it.
Best teammate you ever had?
Best teammate, Adam Grinwis.
Wow, what a guy.
Yeah. He's the best. He's another mentor, man. He's been so impactful in my life. He's amazing. He's brought me close to God, and just been a guy that's been there for me no matter what. So he's amazing.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Great guy. Funniest teammate you ever had?
I'm going to say Jacqueline. Jacqueline's pretty funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you do to stay motivated?
Think about what I need to do to be better.
What's one thing you always take when you play away?
Sweatshirt. Because it's freezing in the air and the airport and in
the plane.
In the plane, and then at hotels too, because I keep my room at like 60 degrees.
Favorite pair of soccer boots you've worn?
I like the Adidas Nitro Charges, and then the Adidas Predators from 2019. Yep. You remember Nitro Charges?
No.
They had the big power band on them.
No,
it was like 2013 or so.
I tried the F50s.
F50s. Wow.
F50s, and the Predator, the old ones.
Yeah.
Those are for me like my
black, white, and red ones.
My favorites. Classics. Yeah, very very good ones. Would you celebrate a goal against your former team?
I probably wouldn't score a goal with my former team.
No, I mean like it doesn't have to be. Yeah.
Well, I don't have a former team yet, so let's say a couple of years down the road it would be Orlando. I probably would not celebrate.
Fair.
Goal, yeah.
The most embarrassing moment on the field.
2022, that Philadelphia game we talked about, I gave up a penalty off a drop ball. I dropped the ball, and I went to go dive on it, and I fouled the guy, and I just felt like an idiot in the moment. But it happens. So.
It happens.
Yeah,
it happens.
Exactly.
I mean, do you yell at the referees or not?
On occasion. Most of the time, I'm so dialed into what I have to do. I kind of focus on that, and usually I let my captain and center back do the yelling because he loves to do that.
Fair. If you were giving a free card, who would you use it?
Peter Cech in the 2012-2013 Champions League, because if he hadn't played in the final and saved the penalty versus Bayern would have won or 2011-2012 Champions League. Bayern would have won the penalty shootout and won the Champions League that year.
Would you prefer to save a penalty in the last minute or score a header in the last minute in a corner?
So if they score the penalty, we tie or we lose? So it's 0-0?
Yes. That would be 0-0.
Yeah. So I'd say save the penalty.
If you weren't a goalkeeper, what position would you play?
I would hope forward. They seem to get all the glory and money and goals and everything.
If you could have any superpower on the field, what would it be?
Insanely fast reactions.
What's the craziest thing you've seen a coach do?
I have a full-on argument/fight for about an hour straight on the practice field.
What's one word to describe your playing style?
Aggressive.
Okay, I would say nowhere.
No.
By the way, who is your favorite?
Manuel Neuer. when I lived in Connecticut, I saw my coach sent me a YouTube video of him playing at Schalke, and I liked goalkeeping before, but that's when I fell in love, and I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be like him when I grow up. So,
right. And I mean, he's such a
he's incredible.
with his feet.
Revolutionized the position, and then also his just pure shot stopping is unbelievable.
Right. What's the best left foot ever for you?
Best left foot ever, Ryan Robin. It's up there. Not ever. No, I mean you have to say Messi, right?
Messi, right? Okay.
Yeah.
After Messi is Robin.
Yeah.
Robin
Ryan
Jansen,
Robin.
the Viking. Best right foot.
See, I'm thinking about this differently, I think, than most people, because what comes to my head is Luka Modric, because the way he uses his right foot in so many different ways, with the outside of his foot and all that way, you don't see that much where he's so
right.
He's so right-footed, but he's still able to be one of the best players in the world and one best player in the world in 2018. So,
best brain.
You got a good one. Best brain.
I know mine.
Thomas Muller, I would say.
Ooh.
Because I don't think you would ever say he's like an incredibly technical player. He's not a super physical player.
Right.
He doesn't do anything like crazy special, but he's able to be in the right spot and make the right pass or make the right shot or play so many times. And he's done it for so many years.
I would have said Busquets, but okay. Best striker.
Best striker? Ibrahimovic. Is he kind of as a striker? Yeah, Ibrahimovic. The stuff he could pull off is unbelievable. What country is he from?
Very flexible.
What
Sweden.
country? Do we know anybody from Sweden? I know somebody that has a cap for the Swedish national team. Yeah, Ibrahimovic.
Yeah. Okay. Best coach.
Best coach. Jupp Heynckes.
Best stadium.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Robin here too. The Dortmund Stadium is incredible. Especially when it's fucking packed.
Top 3 players in your position.
All time or?
All time.
Okay. Manuel Neuer. Lev Yashin, who's a goalkeeper from the Soviet Union in the 50s and 60s. The only goalkeeper to ever win the Ballon d'Or.
Wow.
And he won it twice. And Casillas is up there too, right? He's got to be at least top 5. Top 3, I don't know, though.
Okay. How do you celebrate a big win?
I spent a lot of time in the locker room after the game, just like soaking it in. I stay in my cleats and my uniform for a while after.
I seen that.
Yeah. And I think just going home with my wife and just talking about the game like a little kid. I'm like, oh, you remember this play or
you
that
seen
play?
this?
Or,
remember
you see
this?
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
So yeah, just hanging out with my wife.
Are you one of those that then you can wait to watch the game back and see yourself?
Yeah, exactly.
I was one of those too. One rule you would change in soccer if you could?
I would make embellishment and diving penalized more.
Okay.
I think that's one thing that frustrates me so much is when guys roll around or like fake a foul too much. Within reason. Sometimes, if you get a lot of contact and you fall, that's fine. But when they do it too much, that frustrates me a lot.
Which celebrity would you choose to play a charity match with?
Chris Pratt, because people say I look like him.
A little bit. If you could ever play with any player from history, who would it be?
Probably Chiellini. I'd pick a center back to play behind, like Chiellini. Yeah,
Chiellini, legend, huh?
That's crazy. He played in our league last year.
Yeah. Favorite soccer jersey you ever exchanged?
This year I didn't exchange jersey, but I got Hugo Lloris's jersey for one of our video analysts is a big fan of him, so I was able to get that jersey for him. So that was cool.
Where you store it?
I gave it to our video analyst, one of our video analysts.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, but the best jersey I ever exchanged was with Adam Grimwis. That one meant a lot.
Fair. Best moment of your career so far?
I'd say this last game was Chicago. That was a big one.
Craziest fan interaction you've had?
So after we won the Open Cup in 2022, the next morning we had the celebration or whatever it was called at the with the mayor at downtown in front of the mayor's office. And I'm getting on the highway and I see this guy's got this big Orlando City flag in the back of his truck. And I had my winner's medal on still. So I like pull up next to him and like honk my horn and like show him the medal, and he starts freaking out in the truck. And then later somebody showed me like a screenshot from Twitter or something like that. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I just saw Mason Stajduhar on the highway." So that was pretty cool.
That's so funny. Best prank you ever pulled on a teammate?
So, you know how the Brazilians will do the egg and flour for people's birthday? Yeah. They had extra egg left over in the locker room.
Right.
So Joey Desart was my roommate at the time, and I put an egg in his locker, just thinking, it'd be funny. He'll open it up. So why the heck is there an egg in here?
Right.
So it's the top part. You remember the top parts that locked it?
Right.
He he didn't open that part the rest of the year. This happened in preseason. I put it in there. He's cleaning out his locker at the end of the season. Everyone cleans out their locker at the end of the season. He cleans out his locker at the end of the season. And this egg has like transformed, like become part of the thing. It was like stuck on there, and the hard shell had dissolved and everything. It smelled disgusting.
Oh, wow.
So that egg literally sat there for 8 months. I couldn't stop laughing. I was the one that ended up having to clean it up, but I couldn't stop laughing, bro. Those locker rooms smelled so bad. 8 months that egg rotted.
Wow. What's the best advice somebody gave you?
Andy Searles, our team chaplain, another big mentor in my life. He always preaches about controlling the controllables, taking care of each day.
Favorite sport to watch other than soccer?
Golf.
Best recovery tip after a tough match?
Do a proper analysis of the film the next day, and then learn from it, know what you need to work on, and then forget about it.
Hardest part of being a soccer player?
Working through the down moments, like not playing.
Favorite place to relax?
The woods with my wife.
If you weren't a soccer player, what would you be? You said businessman, but
yeah, I hope I forgot about it, but if I would try to be a golfer.
A golfer, fair. Craziest thing you bought with your salary?
Cars. I've bought and sold too many cars. I've done so many stupid stuff with cars, but yeah.
You love trucks?
Yeah, I love trucks. Yeah, I drive a F-250 now, and I've kept this one for a while. I'm planning to keep it for a long time, but I just do the stupid things like, oh, I'll try this one and that one, and then you lose so much money. But
favorite TV show?
Does watching golf tournaments count?
I mean, I was expecting more like something else, but yeah.
Yeah, my wife and I, we really like to watch like those true shows like Deadliest Catch.
Right.
That, that's a good one that we like a lot.
Guilty pleasure food?
Any like cakes or pies. Like if Tatiana will
Sugary.
Yeah, if she makes anything sweet like that, it's just, I'll eat the whole thing.
Most embarrassing group of music that you listen?
ABBA, Dancing Queen.
Ooh, but that's a
great song.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
I think she's from Sweden.
I'm not sure. Most surprising thing you have in your fridge right now?
Probably about 8 to 10 bottles of kefir.
Ooh,
yeah.
Microbiome, very important.
Yeah.
Very important.
So I drink kefir like it's water.
Very important. Awesome. Do you make it?
No.
You know there's a way to make it.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll skip that. You make it?
No.
Oh, okay.
But my mom did it like when I was really young.
Oh, when you're a kid.
Yeah. I hated it, so.
I love it. I like it plain, the flavors, everything.
What's your hidden talent?
I can work on cars pretty good. So like whenever there's maintenance for my wife or I's truck or something breaks on it, I usually do it.
Jolene by Dolly Parton or Friends in Low Places by Gareth Brooks?
Jolene.
Jolene or The Gambler by Kenny Rogers or Take Me Home?
Gambler.
Gambler or Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash?
Ring of Fire.
Ring of Fire or I Will Always Love You by Dolly Parton?
Ring of Fire.
Ring of Fire or Archie Break Heart?
Ring of Fire.
Ring of Fire or Tennessee Whiskey?
Ring of Fire.
Ring of Fire or Cruise by Florida Georgia?
Ring of Fire.
Ring of Fire On the Road Again?
Ring of Fire, really nice.
Ring of Fire or He Stopped Loving Her Today?
Ring of Fire.
Ring of Fire or Blue Ain't Your Color?
Ring of Fire.
Ring of Fire or Red Solo Cup?
Ring of Fire.
Ring of Fire or Chicken Fried?
Ring of Fire.
Oh my god. Ring of Fire or Dirty Road Anthem?
Ring of Fire.
Last one. Ring of Fire or Cowboy Take Me Away?
Ring of Fire. You got a lot of country songs in there, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. You had a wide range, new stuff, like 90s and
I
old
love
stuff.
country songs. I love.
Johnny Cash is the man, though.
Johnny Cash.
My grandpa's growing up, that's all they listened to. So
Yeah?
I got to listen to it a lot, yeah.
So that brings you nostalgia a little
Yeah,
bit?
exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
That was
fun,
great.
man.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.